All right, welcome back to the Unscripted podcast. We got Alex Golimbievsky here, and we got a bunch of stuff that we are about to just dive into. Second time on here, so glad to have you back, man. A bunch has happened, I would say, in the last year now, not only from our side, but from your side, and we're just so excited to dive back in. So let's get into it. Welcome.
I am so happy to be back. Last conversation was awesome. Back for more. Let's get into it.
Let's do it, man.
Yeah, I think we left off season 2's episode with you with obviously talking about AI and what we went an entire 45 minutes, an hour on just that, which was so fascinating just to kind of get your take on that. And I know as you return, that's kind of the focus. That's what we set in stone for this next appearance was AI, how it's impacting our careers and our lives. And just kind of getting a deeper dive into that.
Yeah, and I think even more so, I think just understanding, even going deeper into that, right? Because I think like the first time that we all spoke, it was kind of getting that like foundation, and then now that so much has happened and so much, and even with your practice and how when you're coaching, it has evolved over that time period as well, and even ours has evolved over that time, right? And because I think one thing that we both share, that all of us share, is how much faith is such a root in what we do. And so diving into that and how that drives what we do and how we do it is going to be a big driver as well. So let's do it.
Alex, if you don't mind, I know you announced yourself, on the first episode we did. Why don't you go ahead for those that may not know who you are, kind of give them a brief synopsis of what you do on a regular basis.
Yeah, love that. I am a business growth coach. And so there's a lot of different kind of coaches out there and advisors. Some are, mindset, some are life, some are, about the individual entrepreneur. I care about the entrepreneur. I'm a very human-centered person. But where I really set myself apart is I've become a consummate expert in how to understand the dynamics of both consumer psychology and funnel dynamics, of being able to, nail product market fit, measure and get your first bits of experimental feedback, and then really find the channels that'll help you scale profitably. And so whether you're a tech company, an e-commerce company, or one of my clients is a distiller of some delicious bourbon in Humble, Texas, I really wrap around and help them understand what channels, what their customers are, what the value props are, and how to actually grow profitably. Like that came from my first two businesses. I'm a serial entrepreneur. So my first two businesses, I failed back to back. And the third business, I got balloons. I love it. And the third business, the third business, I kind of did this, you know what? I'm going to burn the boats and let part of Rome burn. I'm going to just focus on really just growing the company. And we did $500,000 in our first 6 months, and we were acquired by the end of the first year. And so since then, I've just become a student on how to sell products, how to get product market fit, and how to do that predictably and sustainably.
That's so fascinating. I'm still really intrigued in your line of work and how that applies to companies. And
absolutely,
I'm not cutting it out, am I?
You are.
Am I?
You are. User error at this point.
Is that
like my answer for you? This is
that a constant thing? It just keeps cutting in and out, or
no? You're good now.
Yeah, I hear you. It's really fascinating. I've got a question, a general AI question.
Yeah,
I know that when we last talked about it, it was a big part of your model, right? And we were diving into how important it is and what that looks like from like 100-year perspective. Today, how much more are you utilizing AI, and what's like the newest trend that you're seeing that's being utilized for, that's making an impact in the workforce?
Gosh, it is so good. So yes, you have the big existential changes coming of how we're going to live our lives in the next decades. But today it has changed how I work, how I live, how I interact with everything. Let me get concrete. One of the best things that you can do with AI is to give it enough context as to who you are, what your goals are, some of the constraints. Because right now, if you just jump into Gemini, Claude, ChatGPT, and ask it questions, it'll give you general answers. But the more you can tell it about you and give context, the less context blindness it has. Context blindness is where you ask it a question and it has no clue why you're asking it, what the purpose is, and it'll give you a good sounding answer. But the more poignant you can make it, the better. And so one of the number one ways I use AI is I have, for instance, my group coaching. I have group coaching, individual coaching, but I have my coaching program. And I have trained ChatGPT is what I use just because I used it first. All the different pieces of my program, my pricing, my customer avatar, the value propositions, basically my entire growth strategy, which I used AI to help me develop through workshopping and back and forth. I have loaded that into a ChatGPT project. It is something that you have to pay the $20 a month for.
Yep.
And not endorsing, you can use the free version and get a lot out of it. But if you use a project, you can create kind of like an AI digital workspace where it has so much more context of what you do that now when I say, hey, respond to this email to a client, I don't have to give it a lot of context and it understands because it has so much body of knowledge it can pull from, and it can create a really on point message in not just in context to my program, but also in my own voice and tone of how I speak and write. It has become a co-founder for me. I don't remember if we touched on it last time.
No, I don't think so. That's an interesting, thought process.
What an interesting concept. It has now become a co-founder. You guys are co-founders, and there's a lot that you guys bounce off back and forth, and that's great. A lot of entrepreneurs have co-founders, but a lot of us are solopreneurs. And so if you're a solopreneur, you kind of are left with, untested ideas, assumptions. You have a lack of diversity in ideas just because it's just us. And so being able to say, hey, here's my goal, walk me through some of the questions that I should be asking, walk me through some of the considerations I have. I use it like a co-founder, a strategist, and my, almost every other role right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do the same thing, right? So I think I have one for my health, right? I have one for my content. I have one for the podcast. I have one each project has its own purpose of the documentation that I put in there. And so what you said before was extremely valuable. Of AI needs context. The podcast that I had yesterday with an awesome guy, his name is Nicholas Karshner, and he said the same thing. He was like, look, and this is something that we talked about kind of deeply about in the podcast yesterday as well, is that AI is still in the infancy to where you still get what you put, you still get out what you put into it, right? Yep. So if for somebody like yourself or somebody like us or somebody that's at a high level of what they're doing and they add that context in, they're going to get what you want out of it, right? That's going to happen. But for others that don't know how to do that or don't have that deep enough knowledge to be able to give it that type of context, it's always general. And we see this all the time, right? It's the LinkedIn in-mails or they're absolutely horrible. I hate them with a passion. Or it's the emails that you get or whatever it may be, right? You get this type of information back and you're going, okay, like literally there was no context behind this. Like you don't even know who I am. I had somebody reach out to me, literally go, hey, love what you're posting on LinkedIn. Love it all. Hey, would you want, hey, have you thought about starting a podcast? I was like, this is comical.
Yeah. It's hilarious.
It's so embarrassing. I was like, I thought about replying, but I was like, not even doing it. But that's the context that it needs, right? It needs the context to be able to get what you need out of it. And the people that are doing things at a high level are the ones that are just throwing gas. It's gas on the fire at that point, right? It's 10xing their output. It's 20xing their results because they know what to do, right? They're just like, okay, I have somebody that has unlimited time, unlimited bandwidth, unlimited knowledge, right? That's a perfect employee.
Yeah, realistically, that is a perfect model. I didn't even think about it that way.
And so they're like a brilliant entry level or mid-level employee that still needs direction. Yes. Brilliant, tons of education, pedigreed, has 100 degrees, and yet If you plop them into your business and say, hey, can you write me that email or create a marketing campaign for me? Or what social media post should I do? Like, they don't have enough information about you to like you leverage all that information. And so like on a practical level, if all you do and your listeners like stop and ask their Gemini, Claude, GPT, say, hey, I want you to have much more context when I ask you questions and workshop ideas with you. Ask me the top 10 questions that you don't know about me that would help arm you with better context. And then once you have that, you can ask it to save to the memory. It's getting better about that. My suggestion is output all this into a document of some kind, and you can add it to a knowledge base or to as a project file. And now it has something you can reference about who your customers are and why they shop with you versus competitors and all of that. One of my favorite things is if I'm creating blogs or content, one of my instructions is I always want you to have subtle opportunities to pull in a call to action of some kind, either a meeting with me, one of my downloadable lead magnets, something to move them down the funnel. And now when I'm asking it, it always has this kind of slight little, hey, if you want more information, reply, revenue drivers on this, and Alex will come in and respond to you. And so it basically will take it from a adequate, I'd say like a B- output to something that you'd be really proud of and maybe make a couple tweaks or heck, be proud of it enough to where you're like, that's better than anything I would have done. That's great.
Absolutely. And I think the one thing that I started doing is go, okay, how, like, if my AI employee, right, needs that much direction, then how can I create, I've been playing with agents a lot lately and Relevance AI, and Relevance AI has a really good interface, but it still feels clunky. And so I use NAN most of the time.
What do you mean by agents? Can you elaborate?
Yeah,
on
so
that?
AI agents. So what you have today with ChatGPT are AI models that you are calling on, right? That have the information that you're calling on. Agents,
reactives,
allow you to go and they will go perform actions for you, right? And so if Alex has a lead magnet, right, and then after that lead magnet, it sends them an email to be able to follow up on, and then from that email, it needs to book a meeting, and then from that meeting, it needs to download context of that meeting, right? And so instead of Alex having, as a solopreneur, having to do that himself, an agent can go and do all that for him behind the books.
Okay.
It's wild.
I'm catching on. Yeah.
Right.
It's wild. And it's slightly different. There's also like one more in between that people sometimes mistake because there's just the AI models, as you put it. They're completely reactive. You have AI automations, which are like make.com, where you can basically pre-build a workflow of when I have an appointment that has this title in it, I want you to pull that and pull the transcript from it and then do this. And it's a prefabricated sequence of steps, but it's a little fragile. An agent, what Michael's talking about, is really powerful because where the fragility of the AI automation is, somebody may in an email ask you a question that isn't prepared for. It won't know how to handle that because you haven't predefined how to do that. Whereas an agent is being trained on the body of knowledge to think towards an outcome of how to do something. And that is where things get really wild, powerful, and a little scary.
Realistically.
100%, right? And so with agents, you're able to, one agent that we have been building, that I've been building really, in NAN for the podcast is saying, okay, we don't have capital. We can't fill a podcast manager, podcast producer role. So what does that person do? Right? What do they do? Right? So, they interact, they research, they book, they grab relevant information about a guest, and they handle that back end type of things. And I'm like, okay, well, how can I build this out? And so what I've done is I built out an agent to where all you have to do is give it a text input. Hey, Alex has a podcast on the 7th, and his business is this. Cool. It will go out. It'll find all the relevance. It'll scrape your LinkedIn. It'll scrape the internet. It'll also take that and pass it through to a ChatGPT model, memorize that, and then actually I have a router, and so it goes into a router, right? So based on the question that is asked inside the router, it'll define, okay, What is the best route to go? Am I going to go Claude? Am I going to go ChatGPT? Am I going to go Gemini? Which model is going to work the best for this particular question? Then it'll go to that model. It'll go to that model. It will output that into that model. And then from that perspective, it'll then take all that information, and then it will drop it into a Google Doc. So that way you have everything that you need right then and there. And then now we have a podcast producer.
Okay. So, and we talked about this before, but when you think about using AI, ChatGPT to write your emails, right? Your responses to a lot of different sources, right, Alex? And then, but you should only really ever use that. I think that's like the idea is you should only ever use that like 80% and you finish the 20.
Yeah.
Right? Just to give it that personal tone to kind of fix anything that may seem robotic or repetitive. With that being said, like based upon what you're saying, the agent, like how accurate do you see that? I mean, in the future, it's going to get pretty accurate, right?
Yeah.
Like as of right now, like what do you do to provide the most of that model without having to go through and comb through everything that it did that you didn't personally put your eyes on, you know?
I think we're still in, I think you'll agree, Alex, as well, is I think we're still in the stage where you need to check the work, right? I don't think it's 100% where you can trust it. We're not at that level yet, right? We're just now getting to the level where AI can kind of critically think of what those next steps are, but it's still that employee that needs to be checked. Like, hey, you're the smartest person in the room, but like you don't have this skill yet, right? I need to check your work before it goes out, right? And that's what I was talking about. That mid-level employee, always needs to be checked, right? They're not at the place, you know, on a senior level to go where you can trust them to go, you know what, like I trust you to go take this and run with it, right? We're not at that level yet.
Yeah, that's really well done. AI can lull you into some level of complacency because it does feel so smart. You ask a question, it provides an answer. You ask a reference, it gives you that. You ask it for devil's advocate response, and it will. But just like that employee, you can be wowed by all the background. But yeah, you cannot abdicate the what gets done and the quality and the like deliverable at the very end. You still need to have that as your ownership. The how they get there, that's always my kind of paradigm in thinking is, as a leader, I determine what needs to be done, and I should be hiring people that are the how they do that. I give them all the autonomy and the ownership of how they arrive to that. If they do what I want done in the quality and the time and, you know, all those attributes there, that's great. AI is very similar. Like it is a what machine. It can output really great hows, or what, I'm sorry, it is a how machine, but it can output really good whats, but the what is still going to be up to you. To your email point, Will, like you do need to, like if it doesn't sound like you, now you have to say, here's my voice and tone. I want you to analyze it. I want to create like a ghostwriter, and I want you to restructure this way. And even then, what you're going to find if we're going to continue this like AI employee, AI agent kind of mode, you will find patterns where it gets derailed. And that is where you can, again, retrain it by saying, hey, when this happens, here's what I want you to do. And it will get smarter over time. But for the first dozens of hours that it's like deployed and working, every single thing you should be checking and revising.
Yeah.
You know, I have an interesting question for you, Alex. And this is a perfect segue into that. What is your reset button or your reset style when you're communicating to and prompting your AI, let's say ChatGPT, for instance, and it's starting to go off rails, right? And produce things that you're not really impressed with or excited about. How do you, for me, I know it's very primitive. I'm like, hey, scratch that whole thing, go back to the beginning. Or I start to get frustrated. I think I talked about that the first time. I'm like, hey, what the heck are you doing? What is your style for resetting without going through? I mean, because you can spend hours, right, building this project. And then it starts to hit a point where you've hit so many overlapping subjects or details that it starts to just quickly go the wrong direction. What's your style?
That's such a good question. One, I always do go back and make sure it has context. And so, like, for instance, in an email, you can ask it to write an email to somebody, but if the email is to be friendly, if the email is to build a relationship, is the email to be top of mind, is the email to convert, is the email to assert your credibility or authority, like all of those have subtly different things. And I do need to make sure it understands what the goal is. But one of the craziest, most practical hacks is AI, unlike a human, where we like to be self-consistent. If we say something like, I'm a big car person, I love, old school cars. Even as we age, even if that does diminish as a passion, we identify as a car person and we will continue. There's almost an inertia for it. AI doesn't do that, meaning you can ask it to turn on a dime and say, hey, you just output all this. I don't like the output. Can you help analyze your own work and find where you went wrong? Find where you derailed along the way. What context were you missing, or what goals did not align on? Or like, oh man, those balloons. It's this does the balloons. I'll use that very specifically in this podcast. It's interesting.
Is that?
No, I think it's using probably a Google Meet API, because my Zoom one used to do that. I turned that off. My Google Meet still does. It's so funny. But so you can actually have it review its own work. Whereas in a human world, you would never want the author to edit its own work. Your brain doesn't work that way. You become blind to what you wrote or did,
right? And
you will scoot over things. AI, actually, there's this creator and reviewer mindset where you can say, okay, thank you for creating all this. Now I want you to put yourself in the position of my ideal customer or of this persona, or with this goal, shred it apart candidly and critically, and let's figure out how we can agree on the process.
Yeah.
If you're specifically looking at the agent, you need to be concerned with what the process looks like more than the output, because that is how it comes to that, and have it analyze its own process that it took.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah. I do something similar, but I sometimes I'll go open up a new chat inside the project.
Yeah.
Hey, analyze this work, right? And I think the biggest reason I do that is I don't like my chat being massively long with me going back and forth.
Yeah.
Like mine. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you have this one chat, Will.
Thanks for calling me out, dude. What the heck, man?
I hate the way that you talk to AI.
Yeah. That's why I'm here. I'm here to fix it. You guys are not missing.
Right. You're here to fix it. This is not a podcast. It's a freaking intervention.
Yeah. That's great.
But so I'll have another AI analyze that work, and then I'll go, hey, or I think one time I had Gemini analyze the work of ChatGPT, and then I put it back into the actual chat of ChatGPT, and I said, hey, Gemini just analyzed your work, and this doesn't sound right. And she had some like smart answer back to me.
That's when Skynet was created. Yeah, Skynet was created in that instance right there.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's right. That's so amazing. What's interesting is if you do another little practical tip, if you do ask it to review work, AI is aligned to be more positive and more encouraging and more supportive. And what that means is if you, without leading it and just open vanilla, let's say you just open a ChatGPT account and it never has any history on you, it will always be more supportive than it should be. It's like asking your mom for feedback in your business. They say, yes, that's going to be super successful. Everybody will love it. So you should ask for critical and candid feedback, and to break it down and analyze it. Yeah, it's a big key piece.
That's so true, because if you literally go into ChatGPT right now, a brand new account, and say, hey, I want to open up an underwater basket weaving business. Is this a good idea? And then she's going to be like, great idea. Phenomenal.
You're off to a great start here.
Do you want me to create your business plan, or do you want me to create the growth plan first?
That's so right. Exactly.
I noticed that.
This is another flaw. We talk about context blindness. The other thing that ChatGPT does, and all AI models really do, is they really do index and trust what you say as gospel.
Yes.
And so if you don't ask it to be a devil's advocate and to question and to be a thought partner in this and to sharpen ideas and challenge them, it will take your underwater basket weaving idea and create a whole growth plan, a business plan, and you're going to go off to the races, and it's going to be terrible, and it'll plod you the entire way.
Yeah, it really will. I think I could probably be better at saying, hey, be a devil's advocate here. Make sure that we're that you're critically thinking about this as well, with all the knowledge that you have of everything across the internet, right? Does it make sense? And so what I started doing when I start vetting ideas, I have a process now. and I say, okay, first and foremost, let's create a deep research of the idea.
Love.
Right? And so I create a deep research, and I say, hey, I want you to research this idea through and through. And what I'm wanting from this deep research is I don't want the normal market size, market reports and stuff like that. I want, hey, what are the current drivers? Where are the current gaps inside the market today? Are there anybody out there that you know of that are trying to fill that gap or have failed to fill that gap? And what were the reasons that they failed to fill the gap? As well as how much would it cost to enter this market and blow that market up, right? Like, give me that specifics, and then I take that, and then I'll put it inside of another ChatGPT project, and I'll say, hey, here's this deep research that I just did on this idea, and then I'll give it like a synopsis of what that idea is, and then I'll say, hey, now I want you to create a detailed business plan based on this market research, but I also want you to tailor it to the skills that I have, and then I give it the skills. So that way, because I think the biggest issue with anybody breaking into any industry is the belief that they actually can. And I think that can hurt people, right? Because just because you have the willpower to break into the industry doesn't mean you have the skills to make it happen.
That's right. I think Warren Buffett, I'm going to butcher the quote, but the spirit of it is, if I had to bet on an amazing entrepreneur or a shrinking market, I will bet on the shrinking market every single time. Like, no matter how skilled you are. And it's worth, Michael, like, I love your freaking kindred spirit, because I use deep research all the time. It's worth unpacking. Deep research doesn't just mean a lot of prompts. There's a particular kind of, in ChatGPT at least, with OpenAI, you can have it do a deep research where instead of doing a cursory website review or referencing its internal knowledge, it'll do 30 to 50 deep like citations. You can ask it to just use government statistics or published studies, and it will act as like a genuine research assistant that will give you the 30 or 40 pages of depth that then you can model, like you said, say, let's build a business plan. Let's use this as a launching point.
Absolutely right. And then you can break that down even more, right? And so like that's aspirational, right? So how do we actually get practical with it? So let's say our podcast, right? So okay, hey, we want a growth plan for the next 5 years, right? All right, so we can do a deep research on this, right? And say, hey, go out, find the top 30 podcasts that are in the same realm as us, right? What is the blueprint of their growth? Yes. Monitor and track their YouTube and SEO strategy. Monitor and track how they're gaining traffic to their website, as well as I want you to go ahead and track the individual brand play that the individual is doing to be able to grow this, right? Do deep research on it. Then we can take that deep research and actually create another GPT out of that and say, hey, here's the research that we did for the growth strategy for the next 5 years. I want you to now take this and say, now let's build a growth plan. Build a growth plan, and then you just start going down, right? You go from growth plan to content marketing. Then from content marketing, you just keep going down the board and say, okay, from content marketing now, well, we're busy. Like, how are we going to do this? Fantastic. Now we need an operator, right?
Let me ask you guys, what would be considered being proficient at getting that prompt system like out, right? To get your ChatGPT to respond in everything you just said, right?
Yeah.
What's like considered successful in a good time frame? Is that weeks? Is that months? Is that days? I mean, how much does it depend on how much time you just have to pour into the model? Or
yeah, I don't think it's that. I think a better question for Alex is it's not about how much time you can pour into the model. It's about structure.
Yeah, that's how you think about it.
What's the best way, Alex, for somebody to structure a prompt to get what they need that anybody could do?
Okay. Love that question. Have an answer for that. And that is this. That is, lead it to lead you. And say, let me give you some quick contrast. In the epoch and era of Google, you had to know what questions to ask it to get a good answer. So you were asking about a particular kind of gluten-free blueberry muffin recipe or something, or a social media plan for a podcast. And you were kind of figuring all that out. People think that way. They take that same mindset of, I must know the questions to ask, and apply it to ChatGPT and AI. That has shifted. Because with AI, what you can instead now is say, here's the goal, here's the path, here's the destination that I want. Help me get there. Propose a process along the way, or ask me questions to help me align and get there. And so the prompt is simply this: I want to create a in-depth social media plan for my podcast. I don't have all the details for it, but I need you to ask me questions to help us align on where you will lead me next. Like, how are you going to answer that? And it will ask you questions about, okay, do you have preferred platforms? How technically proficient are you? Do you have a following now? Because if you have a following now, you'll like, for instance, this is a really classic example. I see this all the time. People copy what they see the big boys do, right? The big players, but that is not an apples to apples. They're in a different place. And so what works for them won't work for you. And if you just ask ChatGPT to do it and like model on like some of the leading practices, one of my easiest ways is if you have 17 followers and you ask your followers questions, it'll be a ghost town. No one's going to engage. But if you have 70,000, yeah, you're going to get a bunch of engagement. So if you just copy theirs because they're asking questions and having these great community, forums and discussions, it won't be relevant to you and you're going to be moving a different direction. So if you say very clearly, here is my goal, you interview me for what you need to know to meet that objective, and then let's formulate a plan together, is like the basics, I would say. And it will ask you the questions for the context. It will develop the plan that you can say, okay, yeah, let's add one more review here, or let's actually make sure that this fits with kind of the needs and perceptions of my customer. It will go through that, and once you agree on the context and the process, and now juxtapose this to just asking it for a plan. It's making so many assumptions about you, about your goals. Now it has all this and it's armed. You will instantly 10x, without exaggeration, 1,000% improved like prompting if you just have it lead you to make it more effective.
Again, calling me out, Alex. I'm that exact guy who was like, hey,
stop asking ChatGPT, hey, give me a plan.
No, like Diary of CEO, copy that. You know what I mean? Like, that's accurately right, though. That applies in so many other areas of life, though, too, right? Like even your career outside of.
It does. Yeah. Right. And I think people, AI has the ability to literally change everything about your life if you use it correctly. Right. Like I use it for my health, right? Like I was literally just talking to you about this, right? I have one for my biological age, right? So I upload I usually create like a temporary chat because I really don't want my data just sitting in there.
Yeah.
And so I'll create like a temporary chat or like use an AI model that I have locally, and say, hey, like, what's my biological age based on this and based on blood work and based on whatever else I gave it. What is a plan because right now I'm sitting at 32 years old for my biological age. I'm 37 right now. So I'm like, okay, I want to get to 26. I want to be biologically 26. So how do I get there? Right. And so it created a plan. It's okay, well, based on your LDLs, based on this marker, this marker, this marker, and this marker, this is what you need to do, and we can get you there. So we'll do like a 90-day. It'll be like a 90-day plan, and then from the 90-day plan, retest and keep going. Right. And so so you can use it for that. I mean, you can use it for a relationship. I mean, there is a blow up of people utilizing ChatGPT as their therapist.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
and
why.
So, and it can, and I've used it as a therapist as well. Right.
Yeah.
You have to be very, it takes a little bit to do it. And I actually copied this insane prompt that I got from Reddit. It was like 2 pages long prompt about saying, hey, like, you are the most decorated like psychotherapist in the country. You have this. It was like very like we'll post in the video afterwards. I'll make sure to get it in here so everybody else can use it. And so I used it and I was like, okay, hey, look, this is what's going on in my life, right? Like I don't want you to tell me what I want to hear, but hey, how can you gut punch me enough for it makes me rethink about things? Right? Or you can use it for anything else. Hey, like I know somebody that uses it for their homeschooling, right?
Oh, interesting.
Hey,
we built tutors like that too. Yes.
yeah, like, hey, I want you to go ahead and throw this in there, and this is what they are. This is their grade level. This is who. This is. One person learns this way, the other person learns this way, and so now it's gotten to the point where all she has to do is go in and go, hey, I need a week's. I need this week's. I need this week's work. Boom, spits it out the way that she
Isn't
needs
that
it.
amazing? The personal uses of it is insane. In fact, like I literally do. I'm gonna hide my son's name on here, but this is my son's report card. I take this, scan this into ChatGPT because it actually has on not just their grade, but on each individual like level of what it is, and I create a lesson plan on the weakest points that they still need work, and then I can ask it for a worksheet and it put it all out. Like it is insane. I use it like a tutor, and any single time my kids want to have additional like iPad time or technology time, I print them out a little sheet. They can fill it out. They can create a grading system or a grading a key for it. It's wild. Like even the deep research thing. One of my funnest uses for the deep research thing is I live in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and my wife and I are always going on date nights. I was like, hey, I want you to log every single happy hour in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where it is, what the special is, what the time is, and like here's the criteria for it. And created 45 different, like a whole spreadsheet of all the happy hours here. And now when we say, hey, we're feeling this, we just ask ChatGPT and it'll say, hey, here's some happy hours over here. You can go check out. And like
that's awesome.
It is so insane how simple you could use it, but it has impacted all parts of our life.
It's absolutely insane what you're able to do with it. Most people use it for work because I think that's like the most obvious thing that people use it for. But like it can really change how you do everything else as well. You know.
Okay, so we're talking about advantageous ways that it impacts our life. What are some negative ways?
Ooh, I know for me, it's almost like being out at the bar with your buddy for too long, and it's like it's time to come home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, hey, look, like you've been hanging out for it's 5 hours. There's no reason you should be up at 2 a.m.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
You know,
so consumption,
consumption is an issue.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. For me, it's that it can come out. You will be tempted to, like I said, index heavily and trust what it gives you, and it still hallucinates. It still potentially has context blindness. It still will potentially lead you astray in the business world and in the personal world. Like you do have to be careful because, again, in the Peter Parker world, with great power comes great responsibility. This is kind of the same thing here. We have the most powerful tool we've ever had in our society, that every single question and how to and knowledge is at our fingertips with literally just a voice note. And there's a really good quote by Carl Jung, the psychologist, and he says, be wary of unearned wisdom. And what it means is that you won't know what parts to apply, and you can get the answers, but you won't know if it's relevant to you, if that answer, if you learn, this is a great example in the IT world. Do you know where we get like our casual dress in corporate now, like where everything is kind of super chill? It was like back in Silicon Valley, Intel, I think it was 80s, 90s, they had this whole kind of almost cultural clash between the engineers who were making the actual microchips and all the technology, and they just wore what they wore. They didn't care. They weren't executives. And then you had these huge pinned up, super tight, bow tie or ties and everything in suits executives. And when you had the engineers and the executives sitting in the same meeting, there was almost a social pressure to defer to the person who has their shit together, who has the suit and everything. And so Intel basically removed the professional dress to equalize the power rift between them. So engineers had equal say with the executives. Now, be wary of unearned wisdom is looking at Intel and be like, they had a great culture. We're just going to do what they did without fully understanding that the reason that they did that and the cultural point of doing that was so you democratize ideas. And that was the whole point. But now people just do everybody dress Hawaiian shirt Fridays as a fun thing to do without fully understanding the deep why behind it.
Yeah. It's really interesting. I feel like if you're thinking at it from a perspective also of burnout, right? Let's say you're not using AI and you reach that level of burnout. That's not typically something that's thrust upon you as much as it's something you're just striving for a certain level or a certain accomplishment and achievement within whether that's a 9-to-5 entrepreneurial founder, whatever it might be. But then you add in and implement AI, which is supposed to inherently like cut down the workload of certain aspects of your job, right? Whether that's emails, distribution, finding information. It could be on a podcast, trying to find research on your next guest and the right questions that you want to ask them. But do you guys see it heading to a point where you start to chop up, like, let's look at it from a 100% perspective, 100% effort, and you're looking to maximize that 100% effort across, what you do on a day-to-day basis. So you lean into AI to help you write certain things, help you summarize certain things, help you build models and plans within your business. Well, if you're already personally burned out because of usually personal situations, do you see it to where it's helping you, AI is helping you to 50%, your 100% and kind of maximize that, but you've done so much of it, that person, the human factor comes into play and you do too much of AI, right? If we're looking at it from a negative perspective, you use too much AI in that same human mindset that I need to stretch and stretch and stretch, that you burn yourself out on AI eventually.
That is such an interesting question, because you're almost saying, are you saying that because you could be more productive, now there's even more pressure to be more productive?
Yeah, you've run out of capacity on your plate, and therefore you found a loophole or an object, a tool, right, to open up more space on your plate, and you fill that space up with
AI and more stuff.
Yeah, I think for me, AI, like I said, I think AI, agentic AI, AGI is very still infancy, and I can probably spend a little too much time on Twitter, on X, and literally, like, there's a new AI platform every freaking day. There's a new AI platform. So for a lot of times, what I'll do is I'll go, okay, let me go try that out. I'll go try it out, right? And I can find myself like getting overwhelmed with. It starts off as, okay, let me test this. Then it goes into, oh, this is really cool. Then it goes into, I should be using this, but I'm already 15 subscriptions in.
Yeah.
I don't need another subscription to a freaking AI, And so for me, I can get lost in that, and I have to kind of reel myself back and go, okay, like, let me audit, like, what am I doing? Why am I using this? Right? What's the purpose of using it? And then I think just a really important way, honestly, that I've been doing lately, because I've been kind of feeling that, of just like, okay, I am just way too into it. I'm on my phone all the freaking time, or I'm doing this all the time. Like, how can I back off a bit? So just giving myself some parameters, right? Like, okay, like I have 20 minutes to figure this out, right? And then if after 20 minutes I don't figure it out, then I break away, go do something, right? I had a mentor tell me at a previous role that I had, he said, hey, if you haven't figured it out in 20 minutes, then you need to go ask somebody, like, how did it happen, or you need to research it, right? Because all you're going to do is just respin your wheels on the same things you did the past 20 minutes, right? And so I said, okay, so I usually give myself 20 minutes of like, just go for it, and then after that, it's like stop, and then I'll kind of stop, and then usually I'm done. Like, I try to put the phone down like around 7-8 o'clock.
One of my, it's a little bit existential, but one of the biggest negatives that I see with AI is that the power and the benefit will largely go to those who already have the most resources. And you can see this play out, because I think I just read a study, I wish I could reference it, that something to the tune of 50% of all entry-level jobs will be phased out over the next 5 years using AI. Well, those aren't going to provide more savings to the average worker.
Right.
That's not going to add to the work. It's to the person who owns the business. It's going to be to the titans of industry that they get that. And that's going to be a really interesting, because whereas AI can, if we're being charitable, can be a great equalizer for knowledge and tools, because now you and I have access to something that is so powerful that we wouldn't have otherwise had. The uncharitable version of that is companies now are going to be using AI. They're going to use this very cheap way to build agents and automation, and really your jobs are at risk. And so like what you do about it, your audience is ideally, I think probably mainly entrepreneurs, right? Small business people and entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
I think I don't know, I don't have a solution to this, but I think it comes down to like, you do need to become an expert at AI, not because AI is the end goal, but because it is now one of the most powerful new tool to solve old problems. And if you aren't versed in using it, you're going to be falling behind, because it is such a wonderful omni tool, powerful with risks, but it can create an even bigger gap. Do you guys meet people who still have not tried ChatGPT? Like right?
Yeah.
It astounds me. That scares me when I meet somebody who says, I am just too intimidated, I can't even open that, because I feel like they are now a decade behind.
Yep. Yeah. So I introduced my mother to it, I feel like about a month ago. And because she's been a step aerobics, an aerobics teacher and like fitness instructor for the last like 20 years. And she's like, I'm just so tired of like, I have to sit down for like 4, 5, 6 hours and try to figure out like different routines and different things every week so they don't get bored. And I'm like, why are you spending so much freaking time doing this? So I was like, okay, cool. I was like, let's create an account. So I created an account, and I was like, and I put one prompt in there for her. I said, hey, I'm a step aerobics instructor. I've been doing this for 20 years. I have to have this beat count on the music, so that way we can keep the energy high as well as the heart rate high. And I need to be able to do different types of moves and workouts. That takes 45 minutes, and they need to be different every time to be able to keep the body guessing, right? And it spit out like a week's worth, and she's like, "Holy crap!" Like
she became a believer.
It spit it out with a full plan with music, right, to go with it all, right? And then all she had to do was go into like iTunes, download the music, and then go on about her business, and that was it, right? So from 5 hours to 45 minutes.
Insane.
You know what's interesting about that though? I feel like we're coming from the shift in society where our elderly were in a time and era of sharing knowledge, right? And sharing like trade work, for instance, sharing what they've learned from lineage and generationally. And now we've entered into this almost tech space era of like the new generation, so proficient at AI, so proficient at technology, that if you don't understand and you're like older and you're asking them questions, they kind of just roll their eyes at you. You don't know this already, and so it's very valuable to be in the position that we're in. I think we're all pretty close in age, and so to be able to share with, let's say, our parents or the next person in the workforce that's let's say the Tina or the whatever who might be in their 60s and doesn't know how to use this, whereas nobody's really taking the time. Nobody's really taking the time in the next generation, because it's so fast paced, just like TikTok. You're either on the wave and you understand it, or you don't.
Here's a provocative question. I don't even know the answer to this. Is there one very approachable small call to action that we might give those loved ones of ours who haven't tried AI to have one simple use, just to try it, for them to get their feet wet?
Yeah, so I think for my mother, it was like something that was like a really big issue in her life. And so I think it's whatever that one thing is that they're always trying to do, or that they consistently have to do. Then I think here's a very practical one, right? Maybe your grandmother or mother or parent or whatever, your loved one, has to take 15 pills a day.
Oof.
And maybe they're just at the place where you are the one that has to remind them, right? So set up a task inside ChatGPT that sends them a reminder to take their pills every day. There's
some small little way to provide or show value.
Exactly, small little way to say, hey, this is a nice little notification on your phone. Oh, it's time to take my pills, right? and it acts as that buffer, right? So it does two things, right? It takes pressure off the loved one having to do the reminding, and it takes the pressure off the one that has to be reminded, them feeling like they're just bothersome all the time.
Yeah.
You know, and so I think it's a practical way. So I think it's just finding what is that person doing inside their lives that they're just consistently doing, and say, how can this be automated? Like how can AI replace that for you, that you don't have to do that anymore and give more time back?
Mm-hmm.
What would you say? What would you say, Alex, from your perspective?
I like that. I'd go down to find what they're passionate about and show it that it could be a better resource. My version of how I got, my mother-in-law is a very devout Christian. She reads the Bible all the time. She loves Bible trivia. The day I made my own chat GPT, custom GPT, and I basically said, hey, you're going to be a theological, basically, partner, and you're going to dive in, show the different interpretations, show the pros and cons of both, and basically lead somebody through it. And I showed her the ability that you can ask a question and see not just the answer, which is a scary thing, because everybody, especially if you're talking like religion,
Right.
theology, everybody has their own. But for it to like lay it out and for her to interact with it, that was her aha moment of, I cannot believe that this is a real thing that I can interact with and ask it questions, and it could lead me to passages, and it could be this partner for us. So even with my wife, it was similar. I think I've just started finding ways of, there used to be, do you guys remember the let me Google that for you URL way back when? It would be this thing where somebody asked a question. It's like, hey, what time does so-and-so business open? You would go, there's let me Google it for you, LMG, whatever, all the and you would just type that answer, and it would give you a link, and you'd send it to them. And literally, it was the most passive-aggressive thing in the world, where they would click on the link. It would take this website, type out the question that they asked you, and then show you the result. It's almost this with ChatGPT now, which is, my wife asked a question. And I say, great, let me real quickly GPT it, and it provides like an amazing answer. I think that was what swings it for most of my loved ones.
Yeah. That's I love that. That's how you use it as well, and that's how I use the same way. So I have a project for faith, right? And so what I do is every sermon that I listen to, I usually record it. And so if I'm at church, then I'll just set it on my lap, and I'll just have it, and I'll do the notes app, right? And then I'll just press record, and it'll transcribe it'll transcribe everything, the entirety of it. And then I'll take that, I'll put it in ChatGPT, and I'll say, hey, like, organize this for me. So one thing I'll say, organize this sermon for me. And then from there, I'll say, hey, now create me like a Bible study for this week on like this sermon, so I can dive deeper. And then what you know about me, which I've already shared about you, and maybe the struggles that I've already shared with you, like make sure you tailor that study for that as well, for like, so that way I'm always working on those struggles myself on a weekly basis.
That's a great segue, Michael, because we know you're a man of faith, Alex, and I have this. So I kind of introduced my dad into AI, and that was through passion. I get very passionate about being able to save time and be more efficient. Naturally, I'm a safety manager, and so I'm constantly campaigning, how do we get more efficient with the day and the hours that we have. So through passion and introducing my dad there, and starting this relationship, father-son, of kind of diving through AI together, and watching him kind of explore ChatGPT for the first time and AI for the first time. Obviously, being both men of faith, we have come to this agreement, and we talk about it all the time when we start sharing how valuable it is, how cool of some of the situations that it's improving for us. But then we have this like inside joke of, but it's not God though, right? Mm-hmm. And so question for you is like, how do you, in all the various projects you're using it for, how it impacts and weans its way through your industry, and what do you do for work, dealing with other entrepreneurs? How do you take a step back from AI and all the things it improves, and it really gives you so much knowledge? How do you take a step back and consider like that differentiating aspect of, at the end of the day, it's great. It's a tool that gives us benefit. But at the same time, I had to find my answers from Scripture. I had to find my answers from my relationship with God. Does that make sense? Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah, I mean, it could quickly be okay. So that's interesting. So that's very interesting. So we're gonna get theological here in a second.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it could be used as a supplement, as an aid, because it can be really, really good, especially if it knows enough about you. I've trained my GPT to say, hey, I'm still developing my own faith and not my parents' faith. And so I do want you to provide these other pieces. But to your point, if you are satisfied with that and you go on and say, great, I have the knowledge, like especially if we're talking faith, it isn't a knowledge thing, it's a relationship thing, it is a heart thing. And this is where it can be dangerous, because it can lull you into a sense of complacency of like, yeah, I've done the study, I've read the thing, I've taken the sermon notes, I've done all these, when in reality, like the deep work happens here, not with a tool, right? It'd be the same thing. I think we had, these shifts in technology when they went from paper Bibles, or honestly, like, let's go real old school. You had the preacher like there at the stand, and they were telling you, when people got the printing press, right? They now had their own access to it, and that led to a whole nother like shift in relationship and in religion. Internet did the same thing. Now we have all the translations. Everybody has a Bible app that they have access to. These are all things that I think can lull people into a sense of complacency that they're doing the thing, when you really have to do a heart check, and that is scarier. And AI is gonna tell you you're doing great.
Yeah,
you're doing great, and that is can be very dangerous too.
Like, absolutely.
We are trained creatures to want to feel good, and for people to tell us we're doing good. And AI, whereas the Bible was just a resource we pulled from, AI can now speak into us and can tell us, you are good, you don't have to change anything. And it can create the theology that we want to have that may not be the actual theology that we believe in our core. That's the scary part.
Yeah, because where it opens up in a way, if you think about like your mind, I think what we only, and I'm not a scientist, but we only use like 10% of our brain or something like that, right? In a way, like AI kind of has a concept of like giving you just a little more, because you can really dive into things. Like, look at the transition of technology, right? Even from just the 90s when I was born, like, to where we are now is so substantial that prior, in order to kind of know about your neighbor, you had to walk to the neighbor and have a relationship with them. And if you didn't, you didn't know about them unless somebody was gossiping. But now you have Facebook, you have Instagram, you have all these different sources. Same with AI. And that's why I asked that question is, and I always like to go back and say, like, it's not my God, because typically when you think about like praying for discernment, praying for wisdom, that comes through that relationship, like you're saying, in the heart, and actually getting intimate with God, versus now you have access to this thing on your phone that takes 90% of your time in your day, and you can just start spinning off questions. Well, where do you do that more than you spend time in your closet by yourself and building that relationship? And I think that's where the damage starts to happen, because you're like, oh well, I don't really need to, right? I don't really need to go back to the source. I can just go to my phone and start asking questions and pulling from other questions that people have had. And like you said, the connection's not there, the relationship's not there, the intimacy, which is important.
To expand on that, there was a book I read called God Has a Name by Mark Comer. I don't remember exactly, here somewhere, but he has this really interesting, this is a slightly different but equally like perilous path, where he has this whole thing where he says, funny enough, God always looks like what we believe. God always looks like who we are. If we believe that, like, you're a white supremacist, and we believe that this is the race and this is what it is, like, your God believes that same too. And so it's almost this, we are creating a God in our image versus us trying to align to who he is, and us trying to align to his. This could be really dangerous with AI, because it will tell us what we want to hear, right? It'll tell us these confirmations, and it'll make us feel good when if we really believe, if you believe, whether you're, Muslim, Christian, Jew, like, and you believe in a higher power and a higher authority, I'm going to go on a limb to say, you need to mold yourself to their character and not the opposite. But AI and the technology and the tools we have can now instantly make that anything we want to hear to believe, we can believe. We can be told everything we want to hear.
Yeah, I think that's really important, right? How I look at it is everything is supplemental outside of Christ-like community, outside of the church, and outside of your own practice, actually getting into the Word and reading the Bible, right? Everything else is supplemental, and so it doesn't matter what it is, right? So AI is a supplemental study, right? Online church, supplemental, right? There's nothing more important than actually being in community and doing life, right? I mean, it tells us that we should be doing life with others, that no one should be doing it by themselves, right? And even to the point what we're talking about right now, and even to what you're talking about, Alex, is AI can quickly become your God, right? AI can quickly become that, right? But thankfully, we have scripture to tell us that's not true. Yeah, that's not true. It's I think it's Matthew 6:24, right? You cannot believe in God and money, right? Either one will hate the other, the other will hate the other. You cannot believe
serve
that
one.
You cannot serve one and not serve the other, and so it tells us, right? We have the answers, right? And so everything becomes supplemental from that. And so if we have that heart that it is supplemental, right, and that what we're doing is something that gives us a tool to be able to deepen our faith in our private lives and our community lives and in the community that we have with other men, then like that, I think that rounds it out a little bit better for us, right? It gives us the tools.
I love that because like we went, religion, which is really deep and important for a lot of people, but you can apply this for almost anything, to business, to health, to lifestyle, to, any belief system, any goal that you have. And this is where looping back around to AI is you got to be really careful because it will lead you down whatever path you ask it to lead you down, whether or not that's a good path, right? And so there's still you still need, it is not a replacement, I would argue, for good counsel, good people, mentorship, advisors, people, like you said, the community in your life, like it is still important. It can make you feel less lonely. In fact, this is a really scary thing I've seen, and I don't know, like this is anecdotal and qualitative, not quantitative, but like people are using AI for relationships, for connection now.
Crazy.
And in one sense, again, being charitable and optimistic, I'm like, well, that's amazing because you can have somebody who's like, I use it as a therapy buddy that I can ask it really uncomfortable questions about myself. On the other sense, it could be just like social media. We've seen a counterfeit to real relationship, a counterfeit to the real deal. That can be really, really scary.
It's 100%. And so if we're continuing down this path, right, we start to deviate. I think naturally we'll deviate from AI. We'll naturally deviate from that conversation because once we go that route, we start getting into the conversation of stewardship, right? We start getting into the conversation of like what's right and what's just and not in our eyes, but what's right and just in God's eyes, right? And how do we align ourselves with His word so that way that not only can we intimately hear His voice, right? Because I heard somebody say yesterday, and it's I've heard it before, but it hit different. Is that we have to stop. It's not fair to God that when we pray about something, we've already made up our minds of what we want Him to say.
That's really good.
Right? Like if we've already made up our minds of what He wants to say, like I'm going to pray about it, but inside your head, you're like, I'm still going to do it. Then you've already made up your mind. Then why go to Him about it anyways?
Yeah, that's
like,
really
good.
There's
I think there's a lot of selfishness. And I think that's why, right? So now we're getting into the conversation of dying to ourselves. Right now we get into that conversation. We get to dying to ourselves, so that way we can we can suppress ourselves but lift his up, right? So like so if we talk about the kingdom, right, and what the kingdom is, then it's everything down here: AI, work, life, relationships. Everything is even less significant when we talk about the kingdom of God, right? It's very important to us because Jesus has come down and he understood what that meant, right? And so we have autonomy within that, right? But if we're not aligned here and we're not aligned here and in our hearts, it becomes a question of where our heart lies.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's scary. It's something that you have to really do internal work and check yourself too.
Yeah.
Being an optimist, one of the things that it occurred to me now that I'd love to use AI for, and honestly probably update my GPT that I built for it, is it can be used to, one, like this conversation and this idea of where it could go wrong and where it could lead you astray is something you can input and help AI. But one of the things that I think can be really useful is, like, most of us develop our belief of who God is based on our earthly father. And no matter how good or bad your father was, or whether they were present or not, like, that's not going to be an adequate representation of who God is. And so it's interesting because my dad was a Soviet dad. He grew up in USSR. He was an admiral, very respectful man, but he was a man of discipline and consistency and responsibility. And this is my opinion of God. And so being able to even say, like, here's who I am, here's my own wounds that I know, but I have been trained to think this way, like, help me pull from that. Let me pull my belief of who God is and align it to who God really is, can be a really fun thing. There was a point where I did it was a breaking point for me in a very difficult season, but AI actually helped me through it, because I was at a point where I was like, hey, I have this belief that God is an asshole, that he is a guy wagging his finger with a stick in his hand, ready to do all this. I need to unwind that. And I asked AI to help me find all the references. And with prayer, with study, with AI, like, it did such a good job pulling me to 1 John, to Hebrews, where it says, if you've seen the Son, you have seen the Father. You know the very character of the Father because you have seen the Son. And it led me to the point of recognizing that if you actually believe that passage, and it is divinely inspired, then if you know who Jesus is, you see the reflections, the character of who God is. And so my opinion of who God is just flawed and wrong. And I need to be indexing of who Jesus is for us. That for me was really fascinating. And again, back to, like, the positive parts, it could really help lead you, but it is dangerous if you don't know how to have it lead you in a responsible way.
Again, prompting, right? Knowing.
It goes back to prompting.
Structuring and that sort of thing.
I'm gonna put you through a prompting class.
Seriously, hey, at the end of this, I'd love to kind of share.
Prompting for Jesus. Let's make one. Let's go.
Prompting.
I would be down for that.
I'm buying that domain. Prompting
for Jesus.
You know, it's a valuable concept, because, and even just discussion topic, because, you know, if you think about anything, if you think about medicine, you know, and you come across those people that are like, well, they're so devout that, like, I'm going through something so serious, and, you know, God's going to rescue me from this. And it's kind of a tender subject, but at the same time, just because he has healed doesn't necessarily mean he's going to heal your situation. And what he is using to heal your situation might not be that grand, you know, miracle that you've read in the Bible. It could be some form of medicine. It could be some form, whatever the case is, right? And so it's a unique topic, because when you're thinking about AI, the tool that's accessible to us, how wrong it could go. But then you realign yourself, you know, from a faith perspective and an intimate relationship perspective, prompt for Jesus, you know. I really do think that there's some significant value here.
You know, and I like to believe, my own personal belief is that with a pure intention, good heart, and real genuine seeking, God can do a lot for good and will protect you along the bumps and bruises and mistakes and misalignments along the way.
Yeah, I firmly believe that one, us as humans don't pray big enough.
Mm.
I think that, I think a lot of times when we see people hurting, we're like, please, the prayer can look like, you know what, like, if this is their time, okay, I understand, but please don't let them go. Or can you just be the doctor and heal them and intercede and be the scalpel and be all those things? But why aren't we asking like the bigger question? Hey, God, save them from death, right? Like legitimately, like do not let them die, right? Because if we believe the scripture of the word, right, and we believe the words that are on paper, then we should believe the words that say that you ask and it shall be given, right? So if we're asking that and it will be given, then and we believe that, then we should be praying that as well. And so, but I have moving off of AI, I have a question for you, Alex. How do you? And this is something that's actually kind of near and dear to my heart, and really how I model a lot of the businesses that I start is how do you see heaven in business?
Oh, geez, what a question, my dude. How do I see heaven in business? Okay, my immediate thought and belief is that I don't believe there's separation between personal and business in general. We're all humans, humaning and bumping into other humans for it too. And you hear that where your work can be your mission field. And it's a little bit of a churchy, platitude, but I believe that, which is in the world of work and business, it could be this, I'm going to use the word capitalistic in its objective form, not in a derisive form, but it's about making money, right? And it's about improving value. But I had this changed my life. We failed our first back-to-back businesses, and there was 3 founders in all 3 of those. When we got to the 3rd business, that one started doing really well, but I had a co-founder who struggled, one of the 3 co-founders, and we brought in a 4th, but he wasn't keeping up. He wasn't able to. He was out of water a little bit in this 3rd venture. It was a different industry, different. It wasn't aligned with the skills. And the long story short, it was brutal. I ended up letting him go. There was a mutiny where my other 2 co-founders said it's him or us. Yeah. And I ended up letting go this co-founder who was my best friend of 10 years. And it ruined my relationship. And a decade-long relationship died. And you could argue it was right for the business. The business continued to scale. You can have all of those answers around, like, of course, like you can't drag somebody along. It's performance. But for me personally, I learned a couple lessons. I would never make that mistake again. I believe it was a mistake because I put business profit above personal, and I mishandled it. There's probably ways I'm oversimplifying, but to my core, I had to grieve over that loss, and I would never make that decision again. I would never choose a personal relationship for the sake of the business anymore. And I've also become very clear around how I use business and how I create the separation between the two, because in business, I really do care. Like I said, I'm a very human-centered person. I care about people. I want to work with people. I want to interact with them. And so I see the business world as almost this low expectation way to make really good human connection, to really invest in other people's lives, because that's the last place people bring God or heaven or like deep human to human relationships in it. And I believe it's one of the most rewarding things that you can do, where it's just like find passions and purpose and find the people you love and want to do community with. Like that feels like, for me, it's almost like the perfect picture of what heaven could look like, of the relationships and the people, and having a real heart for people, and all of you working towards some common mission or purpose or goal.
Yes. Yeah.
Man, I deeply resonate with that story. I had an exact same scenario happen a few years back. Right, it was myself, and we had met. He and I had met in home group, right, in our church's home group, and we bonded over entrepreneurship, right. And so he started. So he was an electrophysiology nurse, right, which is the electrical part of the heart, and And so it's a highly specialized area. And so he started a company. He was like, "Hey, come on board." And I was like, "Not really my area, but I'm like, let's see what it goes." Right. And that was probably my first mistake, is no skill alignment. But what happened was I remember getting so he left his job and went all in, and I was like, man, that is ballsy, but I'm here for it. like that is ballsy. Like 6 months and you're all in and we haven't made $1. That's ballsy, bro.
Yep.
And so he went all in and I wasn't, right. And I was still kind of going the trajectory of like my career, and him and I had a personal conversation one day, and just about just like life, where I was at, and it was, and I was like, hey, I'm putting business aside, like friend to friend, like follower to follower, and believer to believer. Like, this is where I'm at. Like, it's a struggle. And I remember that night, I got an email at midnight about him just wrecking everything that I said. I mean, going, I can't believe you make that much. I can't believe that this and that. And it was, and we ended our friendship over it. And I ended up leaving the company for that as well. And so, and that I'm a huge believer in partnerships, that you can't have overlap in skill sets. You can't have overlap, not even overlap in skill sets. You can't have overlap in skill sets that you both are running after.
Yeah, that
right?
redundancy.
Exactly, right. Because if you love video editing and I love video editing, we're going to clash at some point. Right? It's just going to happen, right? Because I have a way that I want to do it. You have a way that you want to do it, that you believe it should be done. And if I have a passion for this and you have a passion for it, then there's a clash, right? And roles and responsibilities have to be 100% outlined up front, right?
Yeah,
and I
clear.
think that's why this works. And I say it a lot. And so, but even on that note, it's given me a very good understanding of, one, how partnerships should work. Two, like how I can be better in communication with that. But also, over time, it's shaped how I've seen heaven in business, right? Sometimes it's
define that. I would love for both of you to answer that, because that was such a great question.
So for me, heaven in business isn't always an all-out revival in a boardroom, right? Sometimes heaven in business looks like one of your employees mends the relationship with their mother. Maybe it's somebody was able to buy their house and get out of homelessness. Maybe because of the business that you built, somebody was actually able to live their life to their fullest, right? They're able to live out their passions that they've been trying and searching for years. And what you have built gave them that opportunity to do so. Yesterday I had a conversation with Nicholas Kirshner. He said something really good. We weren't talking about heaven in business, but we were saying, hey, like how can you, if somebody wants to scale from 10 to 20 million, like what's the difference? Somebody scaling from 0 to 15,000 a month. And the thing he said is he goes your people. He goes, any service business people.
Yeah.
He goes, you have to lay out the vision well enough that somebody buys into it and that they can live out their vision inside your vision. Right. And he goes, you create entrepreneurs and not entrepreneurs. He goes, so how can somebody believe in what you're doing so well that they want to live out their purpose inside your business? And I think those are just a few ways that heaven can come to source. Or, and if we want to go even higher level, right? Like instead of starting our meetings with memos, starting it with prayer, right? So instead of starting our quarterly reviews with what we ended up not doing well, how can we take what we're doing and prayerfully take that to God and say, hey, like, I think there's so many different ways. Now there's alignment there depending on who's, a co-founder, who's on the board, who's on the executive team, or whatever it may be, right? But I think it starts that way, right? Where it can be a lot different and with Christ-centered leadership.
Yeah.
Because as you know, I mean, it doesn't matter what you do. It's when it comes down to setting culture in a company, it always starts at the top.
Yeah, it's what is it? I heard something fascinating. It says organizations are top-down phenomena.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's always going to get molded by the one at the top. Yep.
100%, right? Like watching it being lived out. if employees can watch culture being lived out, and that can be anything, right? If it's bad, I mean, look what happened to WeWork. Look at their culture, right? It got shattered when Adam Newman was exposed, right? It was shattered. Versus like, I don't know, let's take Chick-fil-A, you know, versus the culture that they built from top down, right? And so, and I think heaven happens in business a lot at a company like Chick-fil-A, right? Where it's known, where people are, people are molded into be good humans, right? Do I think that happens all the time? That's not a company like that, no, right? Because you have middle managers at the end of the day, right? And middle managers honestly screw it all up.
Yeah, they're still humans.
Exactly.
I used to say churches would be perfect if it wasn't for all the humans in it. Same thing with all that.
Come on, right? How do you see it?
Yeah, I something that's been on my heart for a while now has been to be a servant, right? Servantry, like, and not finding identity within the workplace, which is so hard to do because you pour so much effort into it. But just to give a little bit of backstory, and we kind of know yours as well, Alex, but my family, we've been all over Texas, and we moved quite a few times. My dad's a very hard worker, very brilliant man, and has a lot of ambitions. It's probably where I get everything from, kind of like you and your father. But that being said, we found ourselves, things weren't always perfect. Things weren't always extremely successful, and without bashing our upbringing, there was always somebody who kind of seemed like they were a little bit more fortunate. Yeah. Right. And I never, even today, being 33 going on 34, having 13 years, almost 14 years of experience in safety, I've never understood why there were certain people placed in our lives that were, they were doing very well. I think there was a family, I won't name them, but they were, the father was a lawyer, and their house was, in quotations, a mansion. It was massive. And the way that they accepted us, which we were not in that situation at the time, we were kind of in a duplex, which was not in great condition. And they brought us in and accepted us into that family. Their kids were homeschooled. We were homeschooled. They just showered us with love, with understanding, with that genuine connection that typically when you come across somebody who's doing a little better than you, kind of hold themselves a little higher than you. Maybe they look over your head and they don't really make eye contact. They brought themselves down to our level and really just poured into us from a spiritual perspective, another family of faith. And so as I can account a couple different instances like that in my life, which have made me who I am today, where I don't lead based upon the value of what I can obtain, the achievements that I set out to achieve. And so when I go back into business and I think about heaven and business, I look for those managers, for those employees, for even down to the driver or whatever the case might be, that are coming in and they're pouring themselves out day by day to build genuine connection through that servant's heart. I've been doing this for a while, I've been working out for a while, and even still today, I'm always seeking for somebody to pour into me, to give me knowledge so I can go the right direction. So I'm not going the wrong direction for too long. And I've come across a couple managers in business and or vice presidents, CEOs, founders that kind of lead with that heart. And I just think the connection there is far different than I have to achieve the biggest company with the most value versus having the greatest impact. And when you think about impact and the way that Jesus has impacted all of our lives, that's really the main thing that he did. He didn't come in suit and tie. He didn't come in driving in a limbo, right? Or a limo. He really had impact, lasting impact that generationally continues to, thousands of years to where we are now. So when I think about heaven and business and how I hope that model direction continues to go, that's what I think about. I think about those people that have achieved, Alex, yourself, all the things you encountered at 33, 32, 33 years old within your company, leading a multi-million-dollar company as a CEO, and those instances that have shaped who you are even currently today. But your humility to come on and share, not gatekeep information, but share your journey, the roadmap of your life, and to just really be present and eye contact with with us. That's what I see faith in business being. That's where that real impact seems to resonate, at least for myself.
I love that.
It's funny because I think a lot of times we unconsciously put business and faith, or business and some of this, on a spectrum where one is at the cost of the other. But honestly, I see them very aligned. Just like your guest yesterday, it sounds like, had mentioned that the greatest difference is just people. So 2 observations. One, you want your managers to be servant leaders. You want them to invest and empower and like make mistakes painless, and all the things that we want to have in a culture. That requires you leading first to do that, and you being the model for it. But then secondly, there's this, I'm going to get real practical for a quick second, or at least utilitarian for it. There's a book I read called Patrick Lencioni's The Advantage, and it's about basically how in technology and the knowledge that we have, every company has access to very similar tools and knowledge as anything else. And so the difference between one company and another and being able to outcompete comes down to the quality of the people and the alignment of those people in your business. And so the heaven in business, I think, is such a really eloquent way to say that if you really do prioritize people and you focus on them, that is a way to build an amazing competitive business. Like one of my most practical lessons was in Market Vision when that multi-million-dollar company I took over as CEO for. It was about a year in, and I had a customer service representative that, long story short, didn't show up for work one day, and then told us that she was roofied in a restaurant. But turns out, as it came out, she actually had a drunk driving incident, and so she made a big mistake, and she understandably was panicking because she could lose her job over this, and she was on house arrest. She was dealing with legal stuff, but it was almost a not even a question of mine of saying, well, I know your character. I know you're really conscientious and you're a good person and you're positive. Like, sounds like it was a really bad mistake. We don't shoot our wounded. We will support you. What do you need from us to make this? And so we let her work remote. We helped her be flexible during that whole time. I left that company back in 2020. Is that right? 2020. That's when we sold the company and new ownership came in. She's still there now. She's been working there for 7 years.
Love that.
And
That's incredible.
Changed the tone of the entire culture of our company, because it was proof that we don't shoot our wounded. We support, we lean and do that. And it was the most like tangible representation of like, we really are people first. And we had an amazing team. I believe that most people are still there now, but that I don't think they're mutually exclusive. I think you can have heaven in business and it could be a competitive advantage because it comes down to people ultimately.
I agree. I 100%.
This has been incredible.
I love that. This has been fantastic.
We really talked about this, during our transition of becoming Unscriptd. We have to get Alex back on here, and hopefully in the future this becomes a regular occurrence. I think there's several different topic points that we could really dive into. Your background, especially being one that's super fascinating and encouraging, especially as we're in an interesting time of life where it just feels really difficult. And so to be able to share difficult times and how you've overcome them is, like I said, holds really great impact. So Alex, again, this has been so much fun. You always bring a wealth of knowledge and experience and just a candid presence. So we appreciate you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. This has been fantastic. I love this.
You guys are amazing. I will come back as often as you will have me. You ask great questions. I love our conversation.
Absolutely. Again, drop your handle. Where can everybody find you? When's your next AI workshop?
Oh, I love it. alexg.consulting is my website. If you find me on TikTok or Instagram, like Coach Alex is my handle on there. And I'm actually doing, my next one won't be an AI workshop. It'll actually be a growth one about the 4 different growth levers of how you can find where the bottleneck in your business between traffic, conversion rate, average order value, lifetime customer value, and tackle that. And if you really untangle the bottleneck, that is the real generator of like revenue that is disproportionate. So that's a workshop that's coming up. I don't have a date for it yet. It'll probably be in July, early to mid-July.
Awesome.
Incredible. Thank you, Alex. Appreciate it.
Incredible. I will see you guys hopefully very soon. Take care.
Oh, absolutely. Appreciate it.